The dark and fascinating secrets of these smart birds are beyond what you can imagine. Their mind-reading powers might just freak you out. First off, let's clear something up. When we say crow, we're actually talking about a bunch of different species. There's the American crow, the carrion crow, the hooded crow, and let's not forget the rock star of the crow world, the common raven. These birds all belong to the genus Corvus, and they've got a serious reputation for being brainiacs. But why? Well, for starters, crows have incredible problem-solving skills. These guys can use tools, recognize themselves in mirrors, which is more than most dogs can do, and even plan for the future. They're like the MacGyver of the bird world, always figuring out how to get what they want with whatever they've got on hand, or beak. Now let's talk about why crows don't always get the love they deserve. Throughout history, these birds have been painted as bad omens. In many cultures, seeing a crow is like getting a prelude to doom. Why? Well, crows are often associated with death. You see them in movies and TV shows whenever something bad's about to go down. A murder of crows swoops in, and you just know the hero's about to have a really bad day. In medieval Europe, crows were thought to be witches in disguise or messengers of the devil himself. And in Hollywood, they're practically the harbingers of war. But why all the hate? Honestly, it might have a lot to do with their color. That all black look isn't doing them any favors, especially when they're always hanging out in graveyards or scavenging off of something dead. Which brings us to, so why are people freaked out by these birds? Is it their all black, I'm totally a bad guy vibe? Maybe. Or is it their cawing, which can sound like someone screaming their lungs out in a horror movie? Yeah, that too. But there's also this weird belief that crows are out to steal your shiny stuff. And guess what? That's not entirely wrong. Crows love shiny objects, coins, jewelry, you name it. They're like little winged thieves with a serious case of kleptomania. But really, it's their intelligence that makes people uneasy. It's one thing for a bird to fly around looking for worms. It's another when they're outsmarting you and making you wonder if they're plotting something. Crows are the ultimate opportunists. They're not picky eaters and will chow down on almost anything, from bugs to fast food leftovers. They've even been known to drop nuts on roads so cars can crack them open for them. Talk about letting someone else do the dirty work. Crows are also incredibly observant. They watch people, figure out their routines, and even remember faces. This bird could probably do better in a surveillance job than most security cameras. Believe it or not, crows are actually pretty romantic. Once they find a mate, they stick together for life. It's like having a high school sweetheart that never leaves. They raise their young together, build nests together, and even share food. So yeah, they're not just smart, they're also loyal, which is more than we can say for some folks. Here's a wild fact for you. If a crow is sitting on your left and you're looking to your right, that crow can actually figure out what you're looking at. That's because crows have incredible vision and can interpret human eye direction. Imagine if you could always know where someone else was looking. You'd be a poker champ in no time. Speaking of vision, a crow's eyes are a lot like ours in some ways. They have a binocular vision, meaning they can focus on objects with both eyes at once, just like us. This helps them judge distance and depth, which is super useful when you're flying around at high speeds or need to spot that last fry you dropped from 50 feet up. Okay, so why do we call a group of crows a murder? Well, the term goes way back to the Middle Ages, when people were all about giving animals names that reflected human fears or superstitions. A group of crows gathering together can look pretty ominous, like they're plotting something, hence the term murder. But don't worry, they're not actually out to kill anyone, probably. So you might be wondering if any other bird can do this trick where they figure out what you're looking at. The answer? Not really. Crows are in a league of their own when it comes to this particular skill. Sure, some other birds are smart. Parrots can talk, owls look wise, and pigeons can find their way home from just about anywhere. But none of them have the all-around mental toolkit that crows do. One of the reasons crows have such a grim reputation is because they're scavengers. Yep, they'll eat dead animals, and if there's a human corpse lying around, they're not too picky about that either. It's not exactly dinner table conversation, but it's a fact of life or death in the wild. They're basically the cleanup crew of nature, getting rid of things that might otherwise rot and cause disease. Before we continue, please like this video because our channel is small and new, and your likes are a huge support for us. Crows aren't just living in the moment. These birds can plan for the future. They've been observed storing food and even setting up decoys to trick other animals, and sometimes humans. It's like they're playing 4D chess while the rest of us are stuck on checkers. If you've ever had a crow outsmart, you don't take it personally. They're just that good. Speaking of food, what do crows actually eat? Well, pretty much anything. They're omnivores, so they'll eat meat, fruit, seeds, and even garbage. In the wild, their diet includes insects, small mammals, other birds, eggs, and carrion, dead animals. But if they're in a city, they'll happily raid your trash can for leftovers. Basically, if it's edible, a crow will eat it. Here's a fun one. Can crows talk? The short answer is yes, kind of. Crows can mimic sounds, including human speech, much like parrots. However, they're not as clear or consistent as parrots. But still, if a crow picks up on your voice, don't be surprised if it starts throwing some of your words back at you. Crows have an amazing memory. They can remember faces for years, which is why you should be nice to them. You never know when you might run into the same crow later. They can even hold grudges and pass that grudge onto their friends and family. So, if you wrong one crow, you might find yourself on the wrong side of an entire murder. Remember, that's what we call a group of them. Now, you might be thinking, wow, crows are awesome. Can I have one as a pet? Well, here's the thing. Crows are wild animals, and in most places, it's illegal to keep them as pets. They're highly social and intelligent, which means they need a lot of mental stimulation, space, and companionship from their own kind. Keeping a crow in captivity wouldn't just be difficult, it would be unfair to the bird. Crows are incredibly protective of their mates and families. If you mess with a crow's partner, expect some serious backlash. They're not as flashy as a rooster, but they're definitely just as fierce when it comes to defending their loved ones. Crows have been known to dive bomb people or animals that get too close to their nests, so keep your distance if you see one giving you the side eye. You've probably heard of crows bringing gifts to people who feed them. This isn't just a fluke. Crows are capable of showing gratitude. There's a famous story of a young girl who fed crows regularly, and in return, the birds brought her small trinkets like buttons, beads, and even earrings. So, if you start leaving treats out for your local crows, don't be surprised if they start bringing you shiny treasures in return. Not all crows are entirely black, but most of them are. Some species, like the hooded crow, have gray and black feathers. As for their lifespan, crows can live anywhere from 10 to 15 years in the wild, but in captivity, they can live over 20 years. The oldest recorded crow lived to be 59 years old. On the other hand, some crows don't make it past their first few years due to predators or harsh conditions. Crows belong to a family called Corvidae, which includes ravens, magpies, and jays. This family is known for having some of the smartest birds on the planet. They're all excellent problem solvers, and many species within this family are known for their tool use, complex social structures, and ability to mimic sounds. Finally, let's talk about one of the coolest experiments involving crows. Scientists placed a piece of food floating in a half-full glass of water just out of the crow's reach. What did the crow do? It started dropping stones into the glass to raise the water level and get the food. Crow understood that adding stones would make the water rise, an impressive cognitive feat for any animal. Thanks for sticking with me till the end. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit that like button and check out my other video where I dive into the World War of Ants. And don't forget to subscribe for more awesome content. Stay curious and full of energy until the next video.